How are consumers feeling about this market? If you look at the Fannie Mae Home Pricing Sentiment Index, which tracks the housing market and consumer confidence to sell or buy a home, the index score dropped 0.3 points to 68.2 in May, inching towards its 10-year and pandemic low of 63, recorded in April of 2020 when the pandemic started. The survey is in. 80% of people out there looking to buy or maybe considering to buy or thinking, is this a good market to even buy in, from Fannie Mae's home purchasing sentiment is saying it's not a good time to buy a home. And I can't argue with that. Although I do have some other opinions on why you may consider buying a home. You look at Fannie Mae and what's going on with these people and how they've taken this survey and really taken a look at the psychological position people are in on buying a home right now. There's an index and it has 6 components. We're only going to talk about 3. And of those 3, it's going to be buying, selling, and are rates going to continue to go up? What direction are rates doing? With just those 3, people have a very bad feeling that rates are going to continue to go higher. And the overall position that people are at is this is just not a good time to buy. You know, you look at 2020, people started to feel that way in 2020 when the pandemic started. Although the months leading afterwards, we saw a huge increase and spike in people buying. People wanted to move and they could work from home. So, you know, right now, the position people are in is it's not a good time to buy. They're going to wait to see what rates do and wait to see if this market's going to settle. We're starting to see reductions. We're starting to see things change. And I'm going to tell you guys in this video why you guys should still consider buying a home and some of the challenges that you may face going into this market. Let's get right into this video. All right, YouTubers out there everywhere, let's talk about this video. 80% of people psychologically think now is not the time to buy a house. And I can't complain with that. Now, I do have a lot of people that tell me, hey, Dan, let's get your opinion on it. What's your psychological position on the market? Is now a good time to buy? What are rates going to do? Where are we headed? And we all don't have that. There's no crystal ball out there, but I can give you still my opinion on what I think is going to happen. And also, I want to talk a little bit about my website. So real quick, I'm going to throw a plug in here. I'm a realtor here in Las Vegas, right? I want to make sure you guys go to my website, LV Home Professionals, check it out. A lot of good information, a lot of good content, a lot of good things to look at. If you're somebody out there that's, you know, buying a $100,000 condo all the way up to a $5 million home, have a lot to choose from. It's the same information you get on the MLS. People think, let's go to Zillow or do this. Yeah, it's fine, but this has a little bit more detail in my opinion. And, you know, it helps your search. Also, I can set you up on an automatic search, get you started. If you're somebody out there looking for a realtor, I would love to represent you, earn your business, roll up my sleeves, and work hard for you. So let's get right into this video, right? I want to talk a little bit about this. 80%. Now, where do they take this poll? I don't know. I mean, everybody comes out, the polls read this, and everybody has this to think about. And, you know, do you believe that, you know, this should take place and how many? So I don't know. I mean, a lot of this data and information, we really don't know where it all comes from, how they take this information and then put it to 80%. So the article was saying 80% of people out there are not, it's not a good place or not a good position or a time to buy a house. And like I said, I don't disagree with that. Now, what do I think the market is going to do from here? Well, we still have, you know, Econ 101 or Economics 101 is supply and demand, right? That's the normal thing everybody starts with. So if we see low supply and we continuously see that, we're going to have high demand from these properties or for these properties, even though rates have gone up. Now, it's going to pull back a lot of people that are looking at buying homes just because they can't afford it. Now, that same payment of $2,000 if they're getting a mortgage might be $2,500, right? And so that's going to be a big part. But are people going to still continue to buy in a market where there's not a lot of properties? Absolutely. Because I think people, you could throw a house together. You know, when I was looking at buying properties and had people I was representing buying these properties, people wouldn't do anything to these properties, the owners, and they would sell it. Nothing was done. Things were missing. Baseboards were, crappy. The whole condition of the house was just not in good shape. They wouldn't be willing to do any of the repairs when the home inspection came in. So you have to really look at this and say, well, am I overpaying for this house? And a lot of people think, yeah, you are overpaying for it. I have people around me that says, if you bought in the last 2 years and you bought a house that way, then potentially you overbought. And it's the effect of I'm missing out. It's the effect that rates are going to go up. Also, the cost of shelter has gone up. So there's a lot of different reasons why people are paying for houses. But again, supply and demand is we have low supply. And until we see more supply of homes come on the market, I would say you're going to still have this problem. Now, we do see a lot of price reductions here in Las Vegas. We're starting to see them a lot across the country. So I think as properties come down and people still have jobs, they're not losing their jobs, the confidence is going to come back. And when you look at interest rates, could they continue to keep going up? Yes. Now, what would prevent them from going up? Well, if we had inflation come back down and they had inflation be, come back to the numbers that they want it to be, or at least start to come that direction, then they're not going to raise the Fed's fund rate. So that's going to be one thing. What other things would contribute to higher rates? Well, you look at, we're in a normal market. So the Fed was going in artificially buying bonds to suppress rates, or the bond to suppress mortgage rates to keep them low. That's why we had these low interest rates. That was the frenzy. Everybody wanted to buy. It's not just because fear of missing out. The cost of shelter has gone up, and then there was low supply, and then you had low interest rates. Low interest rates and interest rates in general have dictated this market. So when you look at where people are at mentally and should they buy a home, I don't know. I look at it like, well, if I was in a position and I was renting, let's say I'm renting from family or just renting in general, I'm still going to take the risk. You can always refinance down the road. You can always, rent the property out. You could sell it. You don't have to keep the property forever. But I'm just going to try it out. You have to have a little bit of risk involved in this type of market. Now, what do I see that's going to happen in the markets moving forward here in Las Vegas and in general? I do feel that we're going to slowly build that back up, but the demand is still higher than the amount of homes that's on the market, and we're going to still have this problem. And until we start to see, okay, they're talking maybe, it could be 5 to 7 years before we have enough supply in the home sector to meet the demand for people looking to buy a house. When you put that in with higher rates, it's a recipe of the next 2 or 3 years, probably a similar market where you're going to see properties continue to slowly come back, but it's not going to be, all of a sudden you're going to see a bunch of markets flooding, homes flooding the market. You're going to see maybe a slow process of this happening. So for me, if I'm looking at this going, should I buy today or should I buy tomorrow or not, buy it all together? I think it's a personal decision, but I also feel that I have a lot of people that would be willing to buy even in this market just to get into something, to take the chance of having a home. There's a shortage of homes. Getting into a property where you can at least store money, markets always come back, and take the risk that way is probably more of a secure way. It's really the pathway for most middle class people that are looking to make some wealth. That's really the main vehicle for them to get into to making a lot of money down the road, putting their money into a house. We've seen homes come down, and we've seen markets go up and down, very volatile here in Las Vegas. And so for me, that's probably what I'm going to do, especially if I have a family and I don't have a house. You're buying an investment property, second home, hey, that's a personal decision. But you have to look at what hedge fund investors are doing. You have to look and see what investors are doing in general. And you also have to see, okay, are people still willing to come here and buy a house? Well, unfortunately, yes, California has a lot of people coming here. They're willing to put down a lot of money. You're going to continue to see this market drive up, not at the pace it was. So you're really going to have to make the decision. I always say this. People have come to me and said, should I buy today or should I wait? The ones that have waited, more often than not, have been disappointed or said that they should have bought when they could. So that's it for me. I think it's just a personal decision, but for me as an opinion, I feel that the markets are going to continue it's going to be a continuous market where we're at today. We're looking at maybe a 3 to 7 year process before we actually get to a healthy, balanced market. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comment section. It's Dan French, and this is the Sound Off. Thank you so much. We'll see you at the next one.